Good morning, welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed. It's 9:10 in the morning and I'm standing on the apron at Farnborough Airport, a rather cool little airport frequented by business jets, and I'm about to board a little ERJ 135, an Embraer regional jet, as I'm on a flight from the UK to Italy. I'm going to Rome to drive some Infinitis. I think this might be rather good. Well, after a 2.5-hour flight from the UK, we've landed in Rome, and I have to say I'm kind of glad to be down. It was a very pleasant flight, but the approach was very, very long and very, very flat and through almost zero visibility. It was 100% cloud everywhere, and then we flew into a lightning storm, which was very exciting. So needless to say, now that we've landed here in Rome, it is bucketing it down. It looks more like, I don't know, Norfolk in December than that lovely Rome in November. So we'll see what these cars have to offer. Actually, one of the things that we're doing is going to be driving these two cars on a skid pad, and there'll be a demonstration of how they cope with treacherous conditions. So this will be a very real test. It's not just unpleasant out there, it is horrible out there. You can probably hear the rain battering on the window. This will be a proper test of these cars and of the journalists that I'm travelling with, who have all got to stay dry, write their copy and get it back to the UK. There's about a dozen or so of us, and as I speak the rain is getting heavier. Actually, I'm wondering if we should be test driving submarines or speedboats in this weather. Okay, we're safely down at Rome's Fiumicino Airport, which, if you think about it, is the perfect Italian name for an airport. Fiumicino, doesn't that mean a smoke and a coffee? We've been shipped by the lovely people of Infiniti to a reception area and given pastries and juice, which is nice. And just outside the door, we have a fleet of vehicles which we're going to drive. There are 9 M30Ds. This is the Infiniti saloon that's about the size of a 5 Series, and to my eyes has more than the look of a Maserati about it. Slightly tall. They're all finished in a sort of charcoal grey and look very substantial. Now, as far as I know, these cars have 4-wheel steering, a technology I would imagine that's common to the Renault Laguna Coupe, which I came to Portugal to test a year or so ago, and I was very impressed with. I love the way that the rear wheels steer and give you that nice lane changing ability. So we'll be paired up in these cars, 2 journalists to a car, and off we go for a short drive, and then we'll get a presentation about the technology on board the vehicle. And then tomorrow we get to drive a different Infiniti with a petrol engine. I'm not sure which one I'm looking forward to most. The diesel is the big story. It's about time that Infiniti had some diesels in Europe, and I think we're going to be the first people to test them. I feel privileged.
Gareth Jones on Speed to Infiniti and beyond! Well, Rome anyway!
Okay, we've been partnered up with other journalists. My partner is Paul Gibson. Good start, Paul. The boot won't open. It's locked. Aha! Okay, we'll load our kit in the boot. Grazie. I'm having mine loaded for me. And what a commodious boot it is, with a nice luggage net at the back to stop things from flailing around. And considering we've got some cameras and tripods and recording equipment, you drive first, Paul.
I'll drive first, and thanks a lot.
You see, we're going into Rome, and quite frankly, if you're going to go into a city, you're probably better off letting someone else drive. Interior's nice. Well, I haven't seen a colour of wood like that since a 1974 Squire Telecaster copy. I don't know what you call that. That's interesting. It looks like burnt wood. It does. It looked like slightly charred wood. Very nice. I'll let you concentrate, Paul, because you've got a familiar...
where I put the key.
Ah, do we need to put it in at all?
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. That's an increasing problem with cars these days. Do you put the key in somewhere? Do you leave it somewhere? You know, it was easy when we had keys which went in.
Well, the ones that confuse me is that you have a fob and you have to press the button to open the door, but then you don't need it to start the car.
Yeah.
So you've got it in your hand anyway. That'll be the music.
Now, we've got a presentation now. I think it's probably going to run automatically.
Right. Thank you for joining us in the Eternal City for the drive of the all-new Infiniti M. What could be the boldest and most individual luxury performance sedan in the world?
We're watching this on the little 16:9 TV screen in the dash.
M, but the first Infiniti designed from inception to appeal across all our 35 global markets. But more information is available in your briefing book. So please, enjoy the drive. And do tell us at the end if you agree the Infiniti M gives, as we say, an inspired performance in an oh-so-familiar class.
Gareth Jones on speed! Inspired presenting in a familiar podcast!
Ready to rock. Okay, we have a route displayed for us. That's some kind of display. It's large and pretty and very 3D. We seem to be driving at an altitude of about 800 foot above the display at the moment.
Hello.
You have your names, please?
Gibson. Paul Gibson. Yeah.
Alright. And
Gareth Jones.
Jones. Alright. Okay, navigation set up already. Just have to follow the yellow route. And there's an iPod in the central glowbox. Just press auxiliary if you need it.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Follow the yellow route, did he say?
Follow the yellow brick
Not
road.
the red one.
Yeah. Not the red one. Ah. Yeah. Yeah, my instinct would have been to go for the red one, having a higher luminance in the yellow, I think, possibly. Yeah, my father, who wasn't colourblind, but whenever he drove, we'd arrive at a set of lights, if it was red, he'd say, no, it's red, should I stop or go? He always thought that green had a more warning value than red. We tend to stop at green lights. I haven't inherited that, luckily, Paul.
Morning.
Let me take the cab from.
Right. Thank you.
We're
We're following yellow route on here.
What?
Yellow route we're following, not red.
On?
We're going yellow this way?
Cheese and that yellow.
Okay, righto. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yellow route it is, then. What's that? What the heck is that?
I assume we go in this way.
Trying to tell us to go around the roundabouts that way. Okay. Exit bear right. Yep. Nothing worse than navigating in Newtown in a new car for the first time.
Drive.
And it's left-hand drive with someone sitting next to you trying to record a podcast at the same time. Paul.
Not sure whether you're talking to me or the podcast.
Both. That's the first exit. The instructions were to take the third. That's the second.
Take the motorway entrance on your right.
That'll be this one then. Interesting, they said motorway, not autostrada.
Oh. It's for us ignorant people. Already that diesel sounds amazing. I had to look down to make sure I was driving a diesel.
Yeah. Smoothly woofling away.
Nice.
Is it a twin turbo V6 diesel?
Yeah, it must be.
I'll read the spec sheet at some point.
When we're more settled.
You've got some experience of driving the Infiniti M, though, Paul, already, haven't you?
I have, yeah. The petrol, I can't actually remember what engine size. I think it was a 3.5 petrol. Yeah, that was one of the first cars in London, I think, the first cars in the UK. And I secretly had to drive around about 100 miles. And I was quite impressed, actually.
It's solid, steadfast. It's quite tall. It seems quite a bulky car for a sort of 5 Series equivalent, really. It seems to be slightly taller. And dare I say it's slightly heavier. I'll be interested to find out what the weight of this car is compared to a BMW 5 Series.
It does feel very heavy, actually, at the moment. I mean, it does feel bigger than it looks to drive. It feels really big, solid, heavy car. But to look at it, you think it's no bigger than an Audi A4 or something.
Mm-hmm. It's got quite sculpted front wings, you know, they sort of protrude on either side, which gives that sense of bulk, I think, as well. Yeah, for a diesel, that's quiet, isn't it?
Very quiet. There's nothing at the moment that would have given it away to be a diesel.
No.
Nothing at all. Which surprises me, because you wouldn't actually think a Japanese car could build a nice, quiet, effective diesel engine.
Well, I'm wondering if it is a Japanese engine. I rather suspect that it's a French engine.
Really?
I think it's a Renault block. I'm guessing here, but we'll find out from the Infiniti people later, because of the relationship between Nissan and Renault. They're sharing engines, transmissions, the rear-wheel steer, I think, as well. This car has some connection, I would imagine, with the Nissan Z car, or the Z car, I would think, at some point. And also the Renault Laguna as well, which I really like, the Laguna Coupe. I think the saloon's a very dull thing, but the Coupe is pretty darn good. We were told that today's a bank holiday here in Italy, so in theory traffic should be light, and it does seem to be at this point as we pass Dacia Sandero, which we don't have in the UK. Perhaps mercifully. No, nothing wrong with
reason.
Yeah, nothing wrong with cheap cars. It's a good thing. Okay, it wants us to take the right hand.
Right onto A12.
Pleased to say that it's dried out a bit now. There's no standing water. The surface is slightly sheen. But it's not like it was when we were landing. That was the apocalypse, I think, wasn't it?
It was.
Okay, in the right lane if you want to come over. Airy refinement. This button, I don't know if you heard in that little presentation that we were given, forest air. We've got the forest air button on at the moment, which is providing, I guess, ionised and perfumed air in the cabin. It's not unpleasant. I don't know if I'm noticing it, but it's not unpleasant.
It's probably one of those things you're not meant to notice. If you notice it, then it's too much.
Yep. Subtlety. Subtlety's worth. That's what you pay for, isn't it? When you pay for a lot, you know, you want a bit of subtlety. My co-driver today, Paul Gibson, writes for Limousine magazine. Is that right?
No, it's not right.
Oh, okay. Tell me what's right then.
It's an online publication called thechauffeur.com.
Okay.
Yes.
Chauffeur.com.
Thechauffeur.com. Yeah.
Right.
It's been going for 7 years now, and it's literally aimed at the chauffeur stroke private hire operator and limousine operators in the UK.
So you're a corporate publication in some ways, really. I mean, you're targeting professional.
Yeah, it's directly, it's a business-to-business publication, and so we do tend to cover sort of legislation issues, all the latest laws and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's obviously important for an operator to know what's required of them, and we also offer sort of small business advice, and obviously the car reviews is kind of a lighter side of it, really.
Uh-huh. And so you get to go on these trips quite often?
Oh, not as often as some of the other journalists, I mean, because we obviously specialise in just high-end luxury cars, and there aren't that many high-end luxury cars, so I'll probably go on to sort of 3 or 4 launches a year, really.
So we're not going to see you on a Dacia launch, are we?
Probably not. No, or the Ford Fiesta one. No, definitely not.
I would imagine your market is going to be important for Infiniti. They're trying to nuzzle their way in where Mercedes, Audi, BMW and of course Lexus have a fairly strong holding. Can we say the word Lexus while we're here? Do you think that's going to upset them?
I think we can, because the report I've already written, I wrote it on the plane, contains the word Lexus quite a lot.
Uh-huh.
Because I think something like this is really not unlike the Lexus GS.
Exactly.
So obviously LS is a completely different level, but you know, so far the quality is good. It's going to be a difficult task for them to get into the chauffeur industry. It's going to be a long battle, but I think once a few chauffeurs get to know the quality of the product, I don't actually know the prices yet, but if that's quite reasonable, then you know they will slowly get there.
So when chauffeurs choose a car, the first thing is a business decision. It has to work all the time, it has to be economical, because you've got to turn a profit.
Yeah.
Are there the first two criteria, and then luxury, and then perceived quality, and perhaps even, you know, that brand thing?
But unfortunately, which is a battle I've always come against, is the brand that really does win. hence Mercedes-Benz is the biggest name within the chauffeur industry, because they know if a client rings them looking to hire a car, they always ask, what kind of car have you got? They say Mercedes-Benz, sold.
Yeah.
And that is the thing, you know, that's why Mercedes is so popular. Doesn't necessarily mean they're the most cost-effective cars, the most economical to run. It just means that the chauffeur knows that they can sell their brand to the customer, and the customer likes being in the Mercedes-Benz.
It saves an awful lot of dialogue, doesn't it? And so Infiniti, who have got virtually no presence in the UK, they've been around, 2 years in the UK perhaps? It's only now that they're bringing on the diesels that they're going to be able to compete with the other brands in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, as I say, it's going to be a really tough job for them to get chauffeurs out of the 5 Series, the E-Classes. I mean, the E-Classes, again, it's the most popular medium-sized car in the chauffeur industry, so I think chauffeurs will look at the car, and again, depending on the price, the diesels, you know, I think it's going to produce good figures. So I think they'll get there. It'll be a battle, but they'll get there.
So what we're doing here really is not simply reviewing cars, we're taking part in the establishment of a brand, really. You know, it's the likes of your website and my podcast that's going to alert people to the idea that, well, yes, these cars are in the same category and they do work just as well. And then that's going to filter through to people putting cash down for it, you know?
Well, that's it. And again, it's not necessarily let's try and sell the M Series to chauffeurs. It's also people like me telling... We have that noise again.
Yeah, what's that? It's a speed camera alert, I think. We're seeing something coming up on the... Oh, that's handy.
There we go.
Yeah.
Learn something every day. But, you know, we don't know what the future holds for Infiniti. They could start looking at the chauffeur industry a bit harder and start producing a long wheelbase something. You never know. So it's not just necessarily let's get orders in for the M Series. It's trying to establish the name and tell people that it is a good brand and, you know, emphasise the quality of the car.
Thinking about this car in terms of being a chauffeur's car, there does seem to be plenty of space in the back. As I turn round, I could probably climb over the armrest between the passenger and the driver's seat. There is enough space, it's wide enough. And the rear seat does look all right. There's room for your feet. I wouldn't say it was particularly commodious, but there's enough leg room. But nice leather, nice, well put together. It truly is. Plastic's always the giveaway, isn't it? You occasionally get a little bit of the hard stuff, but it's kept to an absolute minimum here, and that was just surround for the air vents at the front. Everything else is fairly nicely detailed. Yep, it don't look like a Nissan.
I think it's very important, this car, to get the trim right, because the petrol model I drove in London, as I remember, it felt a little bit tacky. It did feel a little bit plasticky, but this one doesn't. This one's completely different, so I think you have to really look at the trim levels. I mean, this wood's really nice.
It is nice,
you know, it's just very different.
Yep, they've got to do it their own way, haven't they? I think this has got a touch of the Korean about it with all the sculpting outside. It really does have an awful lot of compound curves going in opposite direction. It's a little bit... chintzy's the wrong word, but it's a little bit finicky, like some of the new Korean cars are, the bigger ones, like the Genesis I'm thinking of. But it's handsome. It's got a bit of Maserati about it, but I think I've said that already. Who could ever accuse an Italian manufacturer of being chintzy? Or kitsch?
Gareth Jones on speed.
Okay, my turn to drive now. I've been given the driving seat, engaged drive, released the parking brake, and trying to remember which side of the road to drive on in Italy. Yeah, it seems tall after the last couple of cars I've been driving. It really does seem tall. Okay, oh, not so okay, but we're going anyway. Sorry. And the back end is alone.
Turn right now.
Yeah, they did tell us that the road was slightly wet and that these things produce quite a lot of twisting power at the back end, and so to treat it with respect, and they were right. Is it an 8-speed transmission, I wonder, or 7? Or even a 6? Nice blind corner.
It does spin very easily, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does want to. I feel I should talk to you like a chauffeur. Going anywhere interesting, sir?
Yeah. That's the wife's there.
About 500 metres on the right.
There's a bottle of water in the side for you there, sir, if you need. I know, a copy of the Daily Mail.
Oh God, no.
No. If I was a chauffeur, I'd have a copy of Viz and some ginger beer, I think.
Waypoint 1 is in 100 metres on the right.
There's nothing worse than being chauffeured. I hate being chauffeured.
Arrived. Waypoint 1
This
is
is so
on the
boring.
right.
Yeah. All very loose gravel on the road there. We're doing 60 kph, about 40 miles per hour. Dealt with it reasonably well. 1 hours ahead. And a fabulous view.
Oh my God, that view.
Now, can you imagine how gorgeous that would be on a beautiful day? Nothing worse on a podcast than people saying, "Oh, it's a fantastic view," when it's audio and you can't see it. So we'll try and describe it for you. We came down a hill, and before us was the Italian coast. Is that the Adriatic Sea out there then, perhaps? I don't know.
Probably tell you on my book somewhere.
I'm not paying attention. I'm thinking about cars rather than
It's
locations.
actually a lake.
It's a lake,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's not a coastline. Can't find the book now.
Yeah, I'm liking it so far. Compared to the last car I drove, you're far more isolated from the thumps and the bumps of the road surface, but that was a Lexus ISF, which was as hard as nails. This is a bit more floaty. You can hear the thumping and bumping, but you don't really feel it. You can hear it. And the engine wants to play. As we nip around these sort of, I suppose these are B roads, aren't they? The equivalent, they're not A roads. I'm hearing quite a lot of tyre noise, but it's a very broken surface, isn't it? It's, you know, I think it'd be a lot worse in the Audi A8. I think that would thump a bit more. It's hard to tell without really pressing on, and it's a bit too wet and a bit too early to press on. But these aren't cars that are particularly hurried. They're moved along quickly, aren't they?
Not really made for squeeging around big roads, really.
Let's reinterpret the... oh no, it's put us on this track.
Oh, it's just rerouted.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going our own way. No, it's pretty typical of me, I think.
Oh, hello. This was a nasty snap, wasn't it?
You've broken something.
Didn't go around.
What went pop then?
Something here went pop.
Oh. Crunch. That's, I get the feeling that someone in this car has been sitting in that passenger seat, has been given a bit of a fright by the driver. They've pushed their left-hand knee towards the centre console to brace themselves and have cracked something. Yeah, that's the trim cracking if you push it, isn't it? Ooh, ouch.
Yes, that's quite nasty.
Apart from that, pretty solid.
This car's called an M, but it's not a BMW or a Mercedes!
We've now arrived at what they call the Infiniti Centre, Roma. Not an Infiniti dealership, the Infiniti Centre. And we've been presented with a room in which there is an Infiniti M30D, a Mercedes E300 CDI, a Jaguar XF 3-litre diesel and a BMW 530D. So Infiniti are not afraid to be seen against their competitors, and making a direct comparison here, I'm actually standing surrounded by all four cars pointing towards me, nose to nose. And when you compare the Infiniti to its direct rivals, it's slightly taller, I would say, than all of the cars. Even the BMW, which seems to be perhaps the tallest, although that could be the Jaguar. But one of the other treats of coming on trips like this is you get to meet people whose work you know. And one of the other journalists here, getting out of a car at the moment, is Sue Baker. Sue, can I have a quick word?
You certainly can, yes.
How did you get on with your Infiniti M30D?
It's a big brute. We had a great drive around the Italian countryside, and you do feel you've got a lot of muscle around you. It's different from the four obvious rivals because the interior feels much more sort of slightly old-fashioned and baroque, I think, compared to the others. But you can't fault it for value for money because it does look thumping good value for money with all the kit it has on it included in the price.
That's what they're ticking all the boxes with, isn't it, at the moment? You know, it's rather like Lexus's approach.
Yes.
To buy something with everything on board rather than a base price which you spec up. That's what you get.
Absolutely, and I think that is what will attract some customers. The difficulty it has is it doesn't have a heritage, it doesn't have a personality, it doesn't have an image that people understand. I notice people looking at it on the road and thinking, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And to a certain extent you feel the same as you're driving it. It's in this category, but it's quite a different vehicle that really doesn't punch its personality at you.
It's going to take a number of years to establish what Infiniti actually means to us in Europe. America has a relationship with Infiniti now, and it's the alternative, as Lexus was the alternative a few years ago. So it's probably going to appeal to a newer, younger breed, although looking at the car, it's not a youngster's car, you know, it's a stalwart, solid sort of thing.
No, it's not a youngster's car, but I think what will appeal to some people is the very fact that it doesn't have an identity, a personality. It doesn't say something specific about you as, you know, a BMW or a Jaguar or a Mercedes does. People have a certain image of what those cars mean. The Infiniti is a clean slate, if you like. You can imprint your own desires and driving style on it, and I think they have a great future, but they're probably 20 years away from people really understanding what the hell Infiniti means.
Yeah, we're not here watching the launch of a car or an engine. We're looking at the emergence of a brand ultimately, aren't we?
Yes, we are. I think we're seeing something quite organic happening. It's interesting the way they've taken this sort of organic flow to the interior and copied nature and so on. I think that is where the brand is going. You know, they're going to have to flow into some sort of future personality that they haven't achieved yet, but they're heading in the right direction.
The Japanese will have a word for it. Sadly, I've no idea what that is.
No, and we probably couldn't pronounce it anyway.
Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of the Infiniti test in Rome. We had a lovely time last night at the hotel. We were wined and dined, not too sumptuously, but just enough that we woke up this morning without hangovers. And we've been delivered with another car, which we're now leaving Rome in and heading towards Vallelunga, which I think was the home of the Roman Grand Prix rather than the Italian Grand Prix, I'm not sure, in the 1960s. And the main reason for heading out to the test track is to drive the M37, which has the 3.7 litre petrol engine. And we're going to do some slalom testing, I'm told. We're going to be driving this car, which has rear-wheel steer. And I did some research last night. Well, I asked Wayne from Infiniti about the rear-wheel steering on the car. And he tells me that the rear-wheel steering bears no relation at all to the equipment that's on the Renault Laguna Coupe, because, of course, the Laguna is front-wheel drive and the Infiniti is rear-wheel drive, so that system wouldn't work. But I dare say they've learnt stuff from the Laguna and translated it across. But my chauffeur for today, as yesterday when I'm not driving, is Paul Gibson. Paul, second day in this car. Do you love it anymore?
It's a difficult question, actually. I think everyone I've spoken to have agreed that it's a very competent car. It doesn't excite me that much, but it does the job.
Yeah, we can't find any flaws in it, other than it feels a bit heavy, and its weight is about, I think, 1.8 tonnes or thereabouts, so it's slightly lighter than you might have expected. It's got aluminium doors and the like, and you can tell when you close them. But it doesn't feel like a light car. It feels steadfast. It feels, you know, a bit overweight.
I think this petrol version actually feels a bit heavier to me.
You think this feels heavier than the diesel?
Does. Yeah, it's a bit more drivable as well, because you've got the famous flappy paddle things here, and it's a very nice sound with the V6.
In fact, let's hear it. Hang on, here we go. Yeah, that's a petrol engine, yeah.
A little bit lazy, but it feels a bit heavier, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, I don't think.
Step it down into manual and see if it's a bit more energetic. And sport mode, we're in normal mode.
100 metres straight ahead onto SS2.
Okay, SS2, we're on the way.
Well, I'm in 5th. That's full. Doing 100 kilometres.
straight ahead onto SS2. Straight ahead now.
The gear shifts are good, actually.
When you're in manual mode, it tends to come alive. My Lexus is the same, yeah. Shall I put you in sport mode, sir?
Oh, go on then.
Yeah. There's a dial, not unlike the Jaguar gear shift thing on the central console, a rotary dial which has got 4 modes: sport, normal, eco and snow, which you probably need with something with this kind of oomph. It's the engine from the 370Z, isn't it, I think? Or Z.
It is, yeah. It won't let me drop down to seconds, obviously the revs are a bit high. Let's try this. Not bad at all.
We love our job, and you know what, Paul? It's going to get better when we get Vallelunga, isn't it?
I hope so. Yeah, looking forward to that. It'd be interesting to see how it performs around the track.
You and me both.
Gareth Jones on speed.
Well, I've just spent a very productive couple of hours with the other journalists driving around the Vallelunga test track, being given a demonstration of some of the safety features on the new Infiniti M. It has a collision avoidance thing where if you follow another car in front and you get too close, the accelerator will push back against your foot, indicating that you get a bit close, and then if you don't stop, the car will stop. And it did work for me. Did it work for you, Paul?
It did. It did on one run. The second one I did. It didn't work.
Really?
But I think it was more my driving skills. Sorry,
I doubt that very much. And how did you get on with the other proximity warning thing, where if you're driving along and you've got another car in a lane alongside you and you drift close to that car, you get a warning
about
light.
400 metres, take the motorway entrance on your right.
Okay,
Then keep to the right.
Okay, we'll do that, 400 metres. You get a warning in the wing mirror. Is it this one?
Take the motorway entrance on your right. Then keep to the right.
And then...
Keep to the right now.
Okay.
Keep to the right.
Okay, I'm keeping to the right, thank you. And then if you don't steer away from the car alongside you, it will steer away slightly. I mean, is that a safe thing to do, do you think?
I'm not sure, because it's an entirely new concept, isn't it? We've all got the blind spot indicators on the mirrors, which I think work well anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's something that actually applies braking to the wheels. I don't know, you'd have to really use it in the real world, I think, to really find out if it's a good thing.
And the slalom with a car that has rear wheel steer made a profound difference, I noticed. Did that work for you?
It did, yeah, a massive difference between the two cars. Obviously they made us slalom the two-wheel steering car, and then one with the four-wheel, and it was as soon as you started turning into the slalom, it was a massive difference.
And you've driven other cars with rear-wheel steer as well. Is it the 7 Series?
Yeah, the 7 Series, yeah.
How does it compare?
Well, with the 7, you know it's got four-wheel steering. You can just tell when you approach roundabouts and things. You know it's got four-wheel steering. Sorry.
We just passed a man peeing by the side of the road, only in Italy.
I've lost where I am now.
Talking about entering a roundabout in the 7 Series.
Yeah, I mean, you know it's got four-wheel steering. You can just feel it. And with this car, I can't say I've felt it on the road.
Yeah, quite subtle.
That could be a good thing, I don't know.
Paul, I've thoroughly enjoyed driving around Italy in some thoroughly good cars with you. Go on, give us a plug for your website.
Thechauffeur.com.
Okay, so if you're interested in becoming a chauffeur and you want some good advice, that's the place to go. Tell them Gareth sent you, and Paul will look after you, I'm sure. Right, we've got to make it to the airport now, so we'll press on. This has been Gareth Jones on Speed with Paul Gibson. Say to our Paul.
See you later. Thanks for not crashing.
Hey, and thanks for chauffeuring me. I was Gareth Jones. See you for the next Gareth Jones on Speed, or as they say here in Italy, ta-da, mate! Or is it ciao?
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site or follow us on Twitter, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang.
Gareth Jones!